I'm showing up between 3,000 people every night, and I'm like, I'll go home and I'm questioning myself, like, have their lives been transformed? If somebody who was just randomly asking me, "How are you?" I'll just be like, "I'm fine." But if someone who I really know cared asked me how I wasn't sure I could tell you how I was then. If I say I feel any pressure, it will always be a pressure to get better at what I do, get better at my delivery, get better at my pen. But it's never a pressure to out succeed my yesterday.
Welcome everyone to the album review show, a show where we review some of the best albums this year with the artists who created them. I am your host Haych, and today we have an international sensation with us. His sixth album in 8 years. Crazy. It's an amazing body of work. The Christian Afrobeat hitmaker, some people are calling him, who has taken the world by storm with his proclamation of Jesus through his music. Welcome the award-winning Abia State-born Samuel O, also known as Limoblaze. How you
Hey,
doing,
what's
man?
up, people? Man, thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming, man. I really appreciate it. One thing I like to do with the album review shows, I like to give a sentence to describe the album of what I've put together after I've listened to it many a time. So
Okay.
my sentence for your album was a clear expression from Limo Blaze of who he is,
Yeah.
whose he is, and a deep understanding of what he has been blessed to do on this earth. Would that be a fair sentence to say?
That's a fire sentence. I should have some publicists put that out. That's fire as a fire statement. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No, perfect. If you had three words to describe your album creating process of Young and Chosen, what would they be and why?
Exciting, discovery. What would be a third word? A third word would be, I don't know if experimental is the word that I'm going for, but I was definitely not scared to try new things with this album.
Yeah.
So maybe experimental is not the right word. Brave, brave. I would say
Yeah.
brave.
Okay. When you talk about being brave,
Yeah.
what particular songs are you talking about? Because I can think of a couple already.
Oh yeah. Jump right up from the intro. Young and Chosen wasn't like a regular Afrobeat song. It was
No.
me awakening my rap side of me and melodies and trying to take it there. Blesser is also like, I've never done a song like Blesser before.
What?
No, I've never done a song like Blesser. That is that
And
is
you
that is a drill instrumental, but with me singing.
yeah. And you know what it is? Typically with that type of song, when you've got someone singing on it, you'll normally have a rapper to do kind of like a featuring, but
Yeah.
you had it by yourself, and it was like, why has Limo not released more of these types of songs?
But yeah, Blesser definitely. I feel like Happy with Sam Rivera was also one of those where I was in my head. That was more like me trying out a rap, a science experiment, trying to see
Yeah.
how I can make Sam sit on an Afrobeat song, but also having like a pop feel to it, where he's not completely out of place. Yeah, those songs definitely come to mind when I think of that. Oh, even one day was definitely me trying to create a FIFA moment, and I'm like a FIFA. I'm a FIFA junkie. I play FIFA every day of my life if I'm not on tour or in church.
So obviously, as I said in the intro, this is your sixth album, what it seemed like in 8 years, which is
Mhm.
a lot. Which is a lot. Obviously, you had about a 3 year, 2 to 3 year gap between this album and the previous one. What did you have to kind of do differently, or more so, how do you show up differently to record this album than ones that you've recorded before?
I think with this particular album, I was in a very different place in my life. I Now this is an artist coming off like a lot of international success. I had to find even just sonically, I had to find a sweet spot sonically where I was gonna put out an album where my home audience are not completely thrown off, and then it
Mm,
was not too complex for my international audience to digest. So with this album, I tried to do that. With my next album, I would take a different approach because I'm already working on it. it would definitely be a different approach. But with this album, it was really, this was the everybody's welcome into the home album. So yeah, I guess that's where I was when I was making this album, because like I was constantly touring Europe, America, and I was interfacing with different fans from different places in the world, and I really wanted to create something where everybody was welcome.
Mm. I want to get into some lyrics now.
Yeah,
Me, I had a million goals, zero cons with a million pros, but things didn't work out the way that I planned. So many nights of my dreams getting jammed, and now I'm living La Vida. All that joy is a trigger God's plan. What are some of the things that didn't work out how you planned it? And
man.
what are some of the things that have worked out better than you expected?
Even just in terms of my music, my career, I think it was more the working out was more a thing of a when. Most
Mm,
times certain things didn't work out when I wanted it to, and even then when I wasn't expecting it, God just like showed up. I remember the first time I was planning a tour. It was going to be my first international tour ever, and then COVID happened. I was so heartbroken. I was so mad and so heartbroken because we had already announced the tour with dates. It was an African tour, and I was so excited. And then COVID just happened, and the world just stood still, and all of that plans just went away. That's one. But God had better things in mind. At the time that I did my first tour, it was a much bigger success, and I was a much more, uh, if you would say, bigger artist, and I had a larger audience at the time that I went out on my first tour, and it was a beautiful experience. So, just off the top of my head, that's definitely one.
how do you recover from something like that where you've planned for a tour, you've planned to release a particular song or album,
Yeah,
and then it doesn't turn out? How what do you do in those moments?
I think the more that I grow, the more I've learned to not dwell in moments. Moments are beautiful; they can be beautiful or sad, but whatever. Once that moment is gone, I'm just grateful for the moment, but I really move on fast for moments. So, which it can
Mm,
be a good and a bad thing, because the bad side is I don't get to savor the moments of like stuff that happens. Like people around me have to remind me that, oh, you just did this, or you just won this, and I'm like, yeah, I forgot about that already. Because like my head is onto the next thing. So
wow.
the good side is when I have disappointments, they don't linger. The bad side is
Yeah,
I don't savor the beautiful moments long enough. I just boom boom. I'm
you're
on.
just gone.
Yeah, I'm gone.
What's one thing people don't or didn't know you had to deal with in able to create this album?
I had to do a lot of the recording while on tour, which was difficult because um,
Really?
I did at one point I did an 18 city tour in 30 days. And in the middle of that, I had to find studios in between cities to go set up a session and record. And I also had to deal with a broken voice at the time that I recorded the album. A lot of the songs was
Wait. Go back. Let's go back.
yeah,
Broken voice.
yeah.
What? What are you telling me?
I had a broken voice
How?
for the majority of the album, but people might not notice. Maybe one place that you might notice it a bit might be like in Transformation. But most of the songs you won't notice it. But I was dealing with a vocal injury throughout the time I was recording the album.
So I'm guessing that element of you that's just push through, go through to the next thing is just pushing your voice through to
I
get
was-
this album recorded.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. So then when does the voice heal after the album's out? Like,
you know what? My voice is still in the healing process. I've got like I currently have a professional helping me through it.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
my voice is currently still in its healing process, and it's getting better. It's getting better, and what I do is I try to make the best of what I have per time.
Mm,
Because it's not eat. I'm not in a place where I'm in unless God says to take my foot off the gas. I'm not taking my foot off the gas unless God says
mm.
so. So, yep, I'm making it work.
Wow. And this kind of speaks to our next question, which is another lyrics question. I've been on the road every day for the past 6 months. And if
Yeah,
you ask me how I'm doing, I just don't know. Don't want to don't want to lose myself, scared of this feeling. I know it well.
yeah,
This is how you start transformation, which is probably one of my top two favorite songs
yeah,
on the album. What was going you spoke about it a little bit, you was on tour recording the album.
yeah.
But in terms of that feeling of you don't know how you're doing, don't want to lose yourself, scared of this feeling, you know it too well. What's
Yeah.
happening at that point?
Once in a while, I feel like every artist gets to a place where you were like close to being burnt out. So one of my biggest fear in music is getting to a place where it's no longer exciting and it's just like I
A
hate a
job.
9 to 5. I
Mm,
don't want my music to become a 9 to 5. I don't want to show up against my will.
mm,
And some of my favorite thing to do is wake up whenever the hell I want to wake up. And not have to wake up. That's why I was not a big fan of school because I had to wake up every day and go to school. And I didn't like it. Thought I was like a brilliant kid, but I just didn't like the idea of I like leaving my bed in the morning to be an option that is totally in my hands. And so one of my biggest fear in music is just getting to a place where it's just no longer fun because I love music. I'm so excited about music. I'm excited to write music, to create music, to perform music. So if I am ever in a place where this no longer feels fun, it's scary to me. And I had a brief season, that period where I was like, oh, this is scary. I'm having days where this didn't feel like fun. I had to show up in front of 3,000 people every night to sing and give them the show of their life.
mm,
Even if I'm not like feeling the happiest. And I think it was a mixture of so many things. It was a mixture of also that I'm on tour, I'm away from my wife for such a long time, and we're in different time zones. She's my best friend, and we're like we're not having the highest form of communication because of the time zones and stuff. And all of that was just getting to me, and I was like, oh, this is no longer exciting. I want to go home.
mm,
But I can't go home because I'm on this tour. So many people have come together to make this tour happen. And unless I'm in just like a super low spiritual moment, that's the only time I'm gonna like drop everything and like, you know what, I'm off this. But if it's my mental, physical, I try to like dug it out and fight through it. And I had some days where on the mental side of things, I was on a low. I wasn't the happiest. I was like, it felt like showing up to a job, and I didn't want it to be
mm.
that. I wanted to be exciting. But I'm in a place right now where I'm excited about touring and performing and all of that. But yeah, that was what that moment was. And because I know, because in that moment, if someone asked me, someone who I knew cared, if somebody who was just randomly asking me, how are you? I'll just be like, I'm fine. But if someone who I really know cared asked me how I wasn't sure I could tell you how I was then.
Part of the reason why I wanted to do the album review is to discuss kind of lyrics like that because there's always a deeper meaning
Yeah,
behind it. There's a place or an event or a moment
yeah,
where you feel like I don't really know what's happening right now. I don't know how I'm coping. I don't know how I'm going
yeah.
to get through.
And not to cut you
Mm-hmm.
short, another thing that added to the moment of that song is I was in a place where I was wanting more. It's like I'm showing up between 3,000 people every night, and I'm like, I'll go home and I'm questioning myself, like, have their lives been transformed? Did they did they just have a great show, or are they walking away with a renewed passion for Jesus? Because the truth is, you would never know. But like, I got to a place where I was yearning for more testimonies because I get testimonies. I get people
Wow.
text me, and I was just yearning for more testimonies. I want more people to send me a DM, tell me that because of this show, your walk with Jesus has done, or you are a refresher. And I was just longing for more of those in that time. And because to me, it was just like, yes, we sold out, but this is not why we're here. We're here for something more. And I was yearning for something more.
Part of the reason why I find that very interesting is because just people being there and you giving the heart that you have for Jesus in that
Yeah,
moment in regards to your artistry and your music, you've already planted the seed. So the fact that on the back end you're looking like I need kind of feedback to make sure that the seed was either planted or stuff like that
yeah,
is interesting, because there's going to be a lot of artists who look up to you from an artistry perspective, from
yeah,
just a people perspective, who wouldn't know that. One of the things you touched on there was you talking about your wife and obviously being away from your wife on tour, obviously recording the album as well.
yeah.
How do you balance that now? Because considering before when you weren't married, you probably not had more free time, but there's not that responsibility of marriage.
Mm.
So how do you deal with that now in recording this album, in being on tour and all those types of things?
I'm getting better at scheduling my touring. Um, so the my first year of touring, it was really difficult because it was like you were praying for a blessing, but you never really prepared for it, and then it comes around, and then you're playing grab all and
Mm.
just being everywhere. But I've learned to like schedule my timing better, where I try to cluster my tours. So I could go do a tour for like 1 month, 4 weeks, and come back home, and I'll be home for 3 months. Then go do another tour in a different. Yeah, so I try to cluster them now and make sure that I spend. And if I'm not touring, I'm at home.
What does the aftermath of creating an album look like for you? So how do you guard from giving so much and feeling burnt out after the album creating process?
It's crazy because like it feels like as soon as an album is done, you
You
get
got the next
inspired.
one.
You get inspired to make another one. So I've basically been making another album like right after that.
So
Yeah,
wait. So what does recovery look like? Because you Young and Chosen was not that far into
yeah,
2020, like from where we are now.
yeah.
The fact that you're already working on another album, what is the middle ground of, okay, here's recovery, here's then move on to the next thing? Where is that for you?
I think recovery is more. It's more me doing less performing
Okay.
and spending more time at home. I'm doing less and less performing, less gigs. Um, Taking only fewer dates for now. But I'm at home for the most part of the day. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna write. Uh, I'm in a season where I'm not on social media, so
Mm,
my team handles my social media. I don't. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. So the hours of the day that I would usually spend scrolling through those platforms,
it's writing songs.
I'm just gonna write. I'm just gonna write songs. If I'm tired, play FIFA, watch a movie, read a book. Yeah,
So I see where your recovery is. You're talking about the next album. So I
yeah,
know we're reviewing Young and Chosen,
yeah.
but let's get a sneak peek to where you see the next album going, and what does that look like? What's the kind of messaging around the next album?
I feel like I'm still figuring out what the next album contextually should be. So at the moment, I know I'm making a lot of songs. Uh, a few things though that I know is the next album sonically is going to be more of a going back to my roots. It wouldn't be, it wouldn't be, and I feel like I've built enough trust with my audience now, even internationally, where they're welcome to have a taste of whatever music that I put out moving forward.
Yeah.
Uh, but I definitely want to go back to my roots and just make like core Afrobeat songs as I'm inspired to. And so there's that. But then there's also the place where I'm still making some crossover music. I just don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna put it out as singles. They're definitely not gonna be on the album because sonically they are far apart from the album. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. But I'm making so much music that I'm so excited for. Some of the best music I've ever made.
Is there a pressure though, in terms of, to continue delivering quality songs, albums, especially off the back of the success of Gyra and how that kind of like catapulted you to another stratosphere? Do you feel pressure on yourself in both Young and Chosen, and creating any new song and album coming off the back of that? And how do you cope with it?
For one, I never felt any pressure coming off of Gyra, first of all, because thanks to I had like good counsel around me,
Yeah.
Cray, Ace. Because one of the things they let me know from the jump was, look, yes, Gyra it's a hit, it's everywhere, but just understand all of the people listening to Gyra, they are not your fans. They are listeners of Gyra. They are lovers
Mm,
of Gyra. They are not your fans. So do not have an expectation that this is not what your audience looks like. So in my head, I'm still a new artist. I don't feel any pressure to match up the success of anything that I've done before. I'm just hungry. I'm just like I have the hunger of a new artist. I feel like I just want to go. I just want to keep digging into my creative well and just keep going. I don't feel the pressure to match the success of anything. Um, honestly, I don't think I care that much about. I'll care more about how the music interacts with the people. The people can be five, they can be two, they can be 100, they can be 100,000. I don't care about the numbers of people, but for everybody who listens, who takes the time to listen, I care more about how the music interacts with them, what they feel when they listen to the music. And yeah, I think if I say I feel any pressure, it will always be a pressure to get better at what I do, get better at my delivery, get better at my pen, but it's never a pressure to out succeed my yesterday.
love that.
Mm.
Absolutely love that. It's never a pressure to out succeed my yesterday. That is excellent. My last question
Yeah.
to you: what is the story that you want with your album Young and Chosen to tell, and what impact did you want, or still you, or do you still want your album to have on anyone who listens to it?
And like I said at the start of this interview, I was like, in the first segment, I really want people to feel like there's more. There's more to my journey with Christ. There's more to this life of a believer, and I want to get people excited about the main things. We're in a place where people are too excited about the blessings that God gives, the material things, and not as excited as about the fact that He's going to return someday soon. So I feel like with this album, I wanted to point people to the main things and like let the main things be the main things. Be excited about your salvation. Be excited about the fact that Christ is going to return someday. Be excited about your testimony and sharing your testimony to with others and bringing people to Christ, and also being excited even in the times of tribulation. So I feel like with this album, it was a lot of heavy food that maybe the people were not as used to. Because I was almost near giving sermons in some of the songs, and it's probably not like the sermons that people love to hear. People love to hear that God is gonna bless me. People don't like to hear that sometimes these blessings will take time. Sometimes you, even if God doesn't answer that prayer, it shouldn't take your joy. Holding on to the joy of just knowing that the God who gives is better than the blessings that He gives. So yeah, that's basically what this album was for me, and I hope I was able to get some people to understand that, because not everyone will, but if a number of people did, then I think it's a job well done.
Limoblaze, thank you so much for your time. This has been excellent. The fact that we've been able to dive into the album like this has just been great. And thank you all for watching the album review show, obviously with the amazing Limoblaze. Go check out Young and Chosen and the future albums that's to come. So whenever you're watching this, Limo's probably got 3 albums out by the time you come to watch this.
And whenever you see me on tour, go get a ticket. That's one of my favorite things about being an artist. Performing, my live shows are usually where I pour my heart out. So the more I pour it on the albums, but on the live shows, it's just a different experience.
Nah, so go make sure you go check out Limo live shows, Like, don't miss it, because you know a London one's coming again. You know, you already
Yes.
know a London. Listen, you already know it's coming. You know
Yeah.
it's gonna have special guests from all over the place. You know, you know it's coming again. Thank you all for
Cool.
watching, and check out for more coming soon.